Hello. Thanks so much for tuning in to this video. This is just an update on like a couple of pieces from the blog that I wrote on this week. Um, Mostly the journey that Mars is going through, because I think it's a pretty interesting journey. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to read through some of Elias Lonsdale's material on the Sabian symbols. So we're going to look at the 10th degree of Leo, the 11th degree of Leo, and the 12th degree of Leo as well, and the 13th degree of Leo. I'm just going to read you all of those so that you can kind of get a sense for like the kind of energy that we're moving through. I think that Elias Lonsdale does a really, really good job at really capturing this energy. And it's also energy that Venus is going to move through as well. Mars and Venus are now both moving through the sign of Leo. So, and then after they both get done conjoining, or after they both get done squaring Taurus, opposing Saturn, trining Chiron, all the aspects that I'm going to talk about with Mars today, I'll probably do the same thing with Venus. But around July 18th, after they both, make this kind of challenging passage through the sign of Leo, making oppositions and making, all these different aspects, whatever, right? Like, they meet up in the sign of Leo after that. So I think that's interesting, especially as it speaks to our micro and our relationships, because, Uranus and Taurus is really all about like, shaking up our value system, like making sure that our relationships are in alignment with what it is that we actually value, and, I think that Mars and Leo and Venus and Leo both want to play, they both want to create, they want to connect. These are very passionate placements and very passionate transits, so it's like, I just find it to be interesting how there's kind of like this ice cold boot phenomena that Saturn is providing, and there's a shakeup from Uranus. And I'm going to talk about all of this. Hopefully I'll talk about this in another video later on when Venus goes through the passage, and then I'll get to talk about the conjunction. Let's just hope that the lights stay on for that. All right, so I'm going to start to read this. And so this is the 10th degree of Leo. And this is from a book called Inside Degrees by Elias Lonsdale. It's so good. It's really, really good. So this says, the fatal flaw: knowing with excruciating clarity that you are bearing a character flaw that goes against everything you seek and hunger for. The flaw is that you do not stand firm and back yourself up in your own truth. Instead, you pretend that you are a more superficial or easygoing prototype, but you do not get away with it internally. A dark dispute develops inside, subtly poisoning the atmosphere. And somehow, slowly and gradually, despite yourself, you are hurtled toward an abyss that you cannot avoid. To cross over the abyss, to uproot physically, energetically, and emotionally your claim against yourself, your self-negation. And when this happens, a sober clarity of self-affirmative strength comes right in and proves to be a gift for all your world, worth every ounce of arduous effort to attain. The next degree of Leo is the 11th degree of Leo, and this says the mouth of the Amazon River. So this is the degree that I just read of Mars, the 10th degree. This is yesterday, today, I think. I'm going to look at the ephemeris though, just to make sure that I'm sure. Okay, yeah. So Monday, Tuesday, Mars is at the 10th degree of Leo. And then tomorrow, which is Wednesday, Mars is going to move to the 11th degree of Leo. So I'm going to read that right now. And of course, somebody just started to mow their yard. It's funny. All right. So this is the mouth of the Amazon River. Rarely can you get to the central place and stay there. But if destiny is fast and free, you do abide in the heart of creation and you never leave this spot. A host of virtues and gifts are showered upon you as you hold this post with supreme impersonal self command. The most outstanding of these qualities is a faith and confidence in the powers that be, which can move any mountain. And accompanying this trait is an unworldliness which hosts or orchestrates a threshold awareness, an open door between worlds. You entirely live for the cosmic, the universal, the inner source spring. And what you perceive along this path is how everything goes out from here all over the world, but everything returns to here. So that the highest and the truest can once again be sparkled into the shared stream and known to be pulsatingly alive and self renewing in the most rapturous gesture of moving with whatever is asked. All right, so the next one, which is Thursday, Friday, is the 12th degree of Leo, where Mars is going to be. So this says a man painting scenes on a ceiling. Inspired soul gifts. You are endowed with a great wealth of talent and ability, the natural artist, visionary, and a tuner. Everything overflows. Huge scope, bigger than life, issues of ego, can the self be selfless, raw vitality, and virtuoso performance. Whatever. This calls for a ripening and deepening to be fulfilled. When still bold and wild, you experience great struggle against constraints. When clear and steady, there are no limitations on what can come through, the prototype for the future, giving the whole picture in all its glory. And then the next degree, this is the last degree I'm going to read, is the 13th degree of Leo, which is where I think Mars goes this weekend. But let me just make sure. Yarp. Okay, so yeah, so Saturday and Sunday, then Mars will be at the 13th degree of Leo, which is good at what I'm going to read next. Okay, fields of jasmine flowers. To be surrounded by love is the heart's delight. To contact a grace bestowal of love and of light as your birthright is the greatest fanning of the human flame. When there is brightness and bounty as far as the eye can see, the inner self knows they are welcome to embody here. To inhabit this realm is to be in paradise, and it is to bear a seed from paradise, from the unfallen kingdoms into this world now. Oh my God, I just got chills. Okay, sorry. You hope and yearn to deposit that seed wherever it can flourish. This will tend to be where things are just beginning or alive with future fertilities. The seed honors the impulse behind Earth existence. And this peon of praises, I don't know how to pronounce that. This ode to joy remains solidly in there, ready to emerge when conditions are right and there is nothing left to do except brighten into being. Nice. Okay, so yeah, that last one really hit me, especially, and that's the degree that Mars is going to conjunct Uranus. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about Mars and Leo. I've said a little bit that Mars in Leo wants to create, wants to be passionate, wants to, explore, right? That kind of thing. Mars and Leo loves that shit, So I think it's interesting how Saturn in Aquarius is what I personally would like. Astrologically, I would look at the astrology and say, okay, that's the artificial sort of force that maybe is like being overlaid on top of planet Earth right now that really does not want human beings to connect with each other, to love each other, all that stuff, And I think too, like, it's also where do we feel squeezed in our personal relationships with this opposition that Mars is going to come into Saturn on Thursday. So it's like, where do we feel squeezed? Where do we feel really limited? Or like, Aquarius and Leo too are all about expression. Like where can we express ourselves really? And the nodes are in Gemini and Sagittarius. So this is all about going where we're appreciated and where like we are like respected, and really like leaving the environments, in my opinion, that don't where we aren't held and supported safely. So yeah, but I think we could see, I mean, with Mars opposing Saturn, like we can see it, like, especially because Saturn is in a retrograde station, Mercury is out of this square to Neptune. Like, there's very little. Neptune and Jupiter are both retrograde, and the moon today is traversing over Jupiter, tomorrow over Neptune. So, really, like there's no excuse, I think, in my opinion, like not to maybe at least see or acknowledge like what needs to change in your own personal life, and we are having to traverse, some obstacles to get there, right? Because Saturn and the Saturn square Uranus aspect is not done with us for this year. Like, this June 14th one, that's coming out of phase, but now this week, Mars is going to activate the Saturn Uranus square. So Saturn and Uranus is also, in my opinion, part of the culprit for like this sort of like very, very like bleak, weird geopolitical kind of situation right now. So yeah. I think it's many things, but I think the Saturn square Uranus is kind of like giving, like, I mean, in my opinion, like all of the like top people, right? The people who run the world or whatever, like they're probably fucking like batting elbows, like behind closed doors, the leaders of nation states or whatever. So for me, like, I kind of like, I don't think there's any real reason for war other than maybe financial implications or whatever. I mean, that's just my belief, but it does, I mean, this Saturn in Aquarius can look like war, rumors of war, all that shit, And I think it's pretty clear. I mean, there are like weaponized frequencies, and looks like I'm wearing this background as a shirt. That's funny. No, but so anyway, all that to say, I think too, it's like with the Mars opposition to Saturn, what feels constrictive, what feels controlling. How do you feel about that? Like, what is your relationship to control, being controlled, being like limited or constricted, or, I mean, dare I say powerless in some way? This is going to make some people feel powerless, quote unquote, because it's all the power that we need is within us, but nobody, I mean, that's not true. I don't think nobody wants to go to do the work, to go inside to see what is there. I observe people doing that, but I think it's like definitely like the road less traveled. Anyway, so yeah, I think like making sure that your relationships, that your output is in alignment with your values. And, I think we could see this week if it's not. And then Mars is going to move into a trine to Chiron. All the while, the moon is going to move into Aries as well. So the moon and Chiron are going to be conjunct on Friday, which is going to really like open up like sensitivities. Like, we're going to feel maybe a little bit like exposed or a little bit like vulnerable, or, in our relationships, like, I think the Chiron and Aries thing is all about our individual realities, our individual selves. So we could see like maybe what we are being affected with personally, and where that shows up in our chart. So, check out where Aries and Taurus and Aquarius, where Saturn is, Leo is in your natal chart. And then the other thing too is, let's see. So Mars is going to trine Chiron, and I feel like this is a really like nice, like this could even be like a healing assist, where like we're kind of like humbled, like purified before we go into the Mars square to Uranus. That's going to shake things right up. Mars is direct. Uranus is direct. Like it's, I know that a lot of other energy is in retrograde right now, like Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, and that's like less than ideal. Although I kind of like Saturn retrograde transit right now. Like I feel like it's giving me a lot of like, I have Saturn retrograde in Aquarius in my chart though, so that could be why. Like I'm not minding that so much, but I do think that like the Jupiter retrograde and the Neptune retrograde could be harsh for people who maybe like, have been buying into situations like, I don't know, like relationships, jobs, things like that, that maybe like we're under some kind of veil of illusion. And then now that's being lifted. So it's like, oh shit, oh, I see it all clearly. And I think that, and that is so available too. And I think that's such a healthy process. And yeah, so Mars is going to square Uranus. And I think like it looks like something coming out of left field. Maybe you can look out like the houses specifically that like Uranus is in and Mars is in your chart, see where Leo is at, see where Taurus is at. That can give you more personal information as to what kind of change, like what kind of out of left fieldedness, I would say that like Mars in Leo generally feels stronger than Uranus in Taurus. But if we're looking at essential dignities, Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Saturn in Aquarius, those all take the cake. But Venus, but in terms of like the Mars square to Uranus, Mars takes the cake on that one. So because Uranus does not like to be in Taurus at, well, it just, Uranus feels very resistant to change in Taurus and is changing things that maybe shouldn't be changed. Like nature, like some things are better left alone. Okay, so I think that this is going to take us just through this really interesting hero's journey this week, where we are like confronted with ourselves. And because Leo and Aries, where Mars and Chiron will trine on Friday, all about the self. Uranus and Taurus is largely about the self. It's about what I have. It's about me and my resources. There's a lot of very like communal energy in the zodiac, like in the air signs, specifically some of the water signs, right? Like there's communal energy, but Uranus and Taurus, Mars and Leo, this is about ourselves, even though there might be some global, quote unquote, or like geopolitical or environmental implications for like the astrology of this week. Mars is the god of war. I mean, this looks like a fucking battle. So in some way, it's like we do see that there are higher hands, both on the positive and on the negative, and like, and levels and layers in between. Like we do see this week and in astrology, like this week, that there really is like a higher hand in a lot of this that we're navigating, and help is there, I think. I mean, I feel like help is there. I feel like I help myself a lot. But anyway, so I just wanted to come deliver that, just a quick update. I'm going to be working on my Patreon. I'm going to be working on July astrology that I'm going to post a video about. I'm going to be working on some clearings and just all kinds of good stuff for you guys. So yeah, I hope that this helps you. And this is going to be a crazy week and I'm really excited. So yeah, have a good one.